Hello again, everyone. Mark Hackle, Macomb County Executive, Deputy Executive John Paul Rea. Just kind of give you a quick update on what's going on with the COVID issues. But with also that being said, we got some great things that are happening around the community, kind of exciting things. And the COVID, concern, it's still out there. There's still a, issue out there that people need to resolve and make sure that they're keeping themselves safe. Again, even from the state, there is no mandates. But with that being said, there is this requirement to take on this personal responsibility. We've been saying it from the onset, trying to figure out how do we work with some of the executive orders early on. But since there are none here in Macomb County, we have great working relationships with our business partners, with our school, the educational systems, and making sure that the community is aware of some of the issues that are happening. So plenty of vaccines available, people that want it, opportunities for people to realize that they want to get tested, they still can get tested. But again, we've been working together, businesses back up and running. Still looking for employees, and again, you can pretty much go to any website you want, and even some of these businesses, if you're looking for a job, there are plenty of job opportunities out there. But we're working through some of the concerns that are happening, even though this pandemic is still a concern across the country and even here in Macomb County.
Mark, we continually applaud the efforts of the health department. What Andrew Cox, Dr. Lokar, the entire team have continued to do throughout this pandemic is engage all those partners and provide them with the most appropriate resources at the most appropriate time. That's the same situation we find ourselves as we're working through this with the schools. Some have taken other more stringent measures, others have kind of been more laissez-faire. We have been so committed to our schools with the continuous engagement that we've had from them from week one of the pandemic to 18 months later, every single week, talking with the ISD on a daily basis, advising school superintendents, providing those resources to keep the school environment as safe as possible, and providing those options to families. And as you highlighted, Mark, whether someone chooses to get a vaccine, whether you choose to mask up in a certain environment, or any other of the mitigation strategies that are available, all those tools are at our disposal, and that's what we're going to continue to champion through macombgov.org.
Yeah, I see it. Since March 13th of 2020, the first case we had here in Macomb County, that engagement we have had, with our business partners, with the schools, everyone that came together here in Macomb County, and I can't thank our political leaders in and around the entire county from the various communities that make up Macomb County, and even our school partners. We have figured out how do we work together in allowing our health department to kind of take the lead in making sure they have the proper information. There are still out there some that want to force mandates, and we understand that. Yet there are others that say, hey, you know what, I want this to be a personal choice. Trying to figure out how do you fight back both ends of this spectrum, and the conversation is a very difficult thing, and unfortunately sometimes these conversations get very heated. Some of the information we get and people that want to call us, you can tell by the anxiety. But with that being said, we're going to continue to be centered on this issue and trying to make sure that, we're letting people understand, this personal responsibility thing is extremely important, but yet the decision is up to people to make. And, we're dealing with trying to make sure, we're caring about people's lives, but also about their livelihoods, and not trying to force things upon people. And if decisions they make is different than what others think, how do we, the people are talking about, terminating or getting rid of employees. We're not about that. We're not trying to figure out how do we get rid of people and, force them into making a decision. We have always said from the onset, from day one since we've been doing these things, you need to keep you and your family safe by making the choices you think are probably most important to you. And we are here as a available resource in that regard. So again, a lot of good things are happening.
Yeah.
You see people are back to doing things that are normal, whether it's going to sporting events, whether going to restaurants, people are engaging. And with that being said, there's still going to be that spread. So you need to make sure you're aware of that and taking the precautions.
Mark, you brought up a key word here, which is resource. We find ourselves in an incredibly beneficial position, whether it's getting American Rescue Plan dollars, whether it's the expanding of funds and resources coming from the state budget deal that was just brokered this past week and everything. We've got a tremendous amount of opportunities with some of the programs that are evolving on a day in, day out basis to help residents that do find challenges. So obviously, we're championing our emergency rental assistance program, which is trying to keep people in their homes if they're having issues with their finances and everything. We've got our food programs in there that have continually worked with the 5 dozen food pantries that are around the county and everything. The work that we're doing with the welfare of students and the whole notion of student achievement that we continue to do with the ISD. This comes from the inventiveness of our department heads, the great folks that work with us, and the incredible partners we have through the communities. That community connectivity has been the foundation of our pandemic response and will continue to be. We're never going to sit here and wag the finger and say you did something wrong or act in retribution. It's about partnership, it's about engagement, and it's about about community impact.
Yeah, and you mentioned that. I mean, Macomb Community Action, talking about Ernest Sheila from our senior department, and Linda Azar dealing with the food programs that we have here. We got some great folks that are really out there engaged and working with the community to make that happen. And so you mentioned that some of the money that's coming in and the concerns we have, the ARP funding now that we had obviously the CARES funding that helped out with a lot of business and things that we did with our planning department and emergency management. But now we've got this pool of money that we're looking at and trying to figure out how do we advance our infrastructure. And that's one of the main focuses we're looking at. We haven't lost sight of that even throughout this pandemic. If you look around you, you're going to see road construction everywhere you go, and some of that becomes irritating. People are like, my God, the traffic's backed up, this is terrible, but the reality is we're fixing something, and that's what people have been asking us to do. So advancing infrastructure is important because even internally, we've got some infrastructure needs, some of the issues. Whether it's the Marine Division boathouse that they're going to be redoing. I mean, it's actually going to look incredible here in Macomb County. We'll have a state-of-the-art facility on one of the greatest inland lakes in the entire, Great Lakes system here. Lake St. Clair is our Great Lake here in Macomb County. But with that being said, we're looking at obviously this constant conversation we have about the jail and how do we fix that? How do we deal with that? Well, I think this central intake and assessment part of that is the area where people are brought in, trying to make a determination, mental health, substance abuse. What are the issues that the police are coming into contact with these people for? And is there a better way systematically of handling these people? We need the facilities to be restructured for that purpose, and the jail has needed an overhaul for decades. And so with that being said, we're looking at using some of that fund to help us with that infrastructure project. The underground issues with our sewers, and obviously working with Candace Miller. There's no question about it. We've come a long way under her leadership, but that partnership we have of making sure that the above ground infrastructure, dealing with our roads and bridges, we're coordinating efforts and making it better for people, whether it's in their neighborhoods or out on the main roads or main thoroughways. We're going to make that happen, and we're going to advance some of those projects depending on more money or the more money we get. And lastly, obviously, one of the big areas is Health and Human Services, and talking about the health department. We've done a great job throughout this pandemic, coordinating efforts. We know there's a better way of doing it, and with the facilities that we're looking at and trying to figure out how do we create better opportunities for all here in Macomb County, we want to advance some of that infrastructure money for that purpose as well. So right now we've been working with the Board of Commissioners. We're dealing with our current budget, which is going to be probably laid out shortly here, and some very positive outlook on what's going on with the county's budget once again, but most importantly also the funds we're getting from the federal government, making sure we're in line with the board to do the right things for Macomb County and putting things in place that are transformational. And as I always say, the underground roads, bridges, those are transformational. People have been asking for that for some time, but dealing with a central intake and assessment to deal with prisoners that are coming in contact or people coming in contact with law enforcement is an incredible opportunity for us to be showcased around the country with how we handle it and how we manage that more efficiently and in the end, less costly to the public. And so we think we've got a great plan here and a great opportunity to do that. And advancing infrastructure is something we're keenly focused on here in Macomb County.
Mark, I think it's really interesting when you talk about some of these big ticket projects, whether it's fixing a road, transforming infrastructure that's going to better our water quality, looking at comprehensive criminal justice reform and the advocacy for those individuals that engage the criminal justice system, taking some of those same tenets and looking at client advocacy and looking at the whole spectrum of services that we can provide someone that comes into community action. These are, as you highlighted, transformational changes in the philosophy in which we help engage and help people prosper in this community. That's what the pandemic has done. It's recalibrating the way in which we engage the community and keep those strong community ties with all those partners. A lot of people might say, well, you're just building a building. No, it goes beyond a building. The building is the place where we come together, where we facilitate those bonds, but it goes beyond that and the incredible people that work with us day in, day out.
Yeah, and we're working on that. We're focused on it because, like you said, we got partners out there that really want to help make that
Absolutely.
happen. Exciting news that's coming out too is obviously during the pandemic, people became more connected or reconnected with our natural beauty, our natural resources, whether it's the Clinton River, the trails, the parks in and around the entire county. We have a great park system with the metro parks in and around our areas. But I got to tell you, a lot of the communities are doing a great job of really enhancing the opportunities for people. And so this weekend on Saturday, they got Meet Us on the Trails program, and at macombgov.org you can go to and you click on. You'll see all the locations that we're going to have some celebratory events going on in various communities throughout the entire county. And you may want to take a look and bring your family out there because there's some giveaways, there's some opportunities, there ribbon cuttings that are going to take place too. Very exciting stuff that's happening. And I tend to look at what we've got here in Macomb County. We're very fortunate. Oftentimes you hear people saying, but they got this in Oakland County, they got this in St. Clair County. What people don't realize is there is a millage that has been in place for many, almost decades in Oakland County, and as well as St. Clair County. There's a specific dedicated millage for parks and trails. And with that, they leverage that money for money that's left on the table that we don't often have an ability to apply for with the DNR Trust Fund and other funds that are out there available. because you got to have match money. We just don't have that. And again, our budget, we try to make sure it's tight each and every year. But at some point in time, we need to take a look at seeing if there's something out there for the public and saying, you know what, we can advance what we've got here as far as our infrastructure for our natural resources, parks and recreation, if we were to do something similar to what they have in St. Clair County. And again, it's a very modest ask, I think. We're going to be working with the board, having conversations about that. But here in Macomb County, what we could leverage that money to really create as far as our parks and recreation. And it's not just about quality of life, it's also about increasing property values. People like to be in and around areas where there's amenities, especially for people to reconnect with the natural resources. And here in Macomb County, we have a tremendous opportunity to do that. So you're going to hear some more conversations coming about in that regard. And we know our partners all around us are telling us, boy, what an advantage it would be for Macomb County if we did something like that. And I wouldn't have to keep hearing about all the things that are going on in Oakland County without having to explain why we are somewhat at a disadvantage. But again, credit to the municipalities, because they're still doing a pretty good job of making access to recreation here in Macomb
Mark,
County.
180 parks across our county, 150 miles of trails. These are foundational community assets that, as you say, are vibrant places for people to connect. They provide stability to the communities. They provide great showcases that not only illustrate the vibrancy of our community, but I think more importantly, as you says, opportunities to grow and invest. When we look at Meet Me on the Trail Day that's coming up this Saturday, the 25th, it's about giving people 14 opportunities throughout the county to come together, celebrate the great assets that we have, and do a number of things that really showcase these prime natural resources that we've got in Macomb County.
I mean, the enhancements that we can create to the actual Clinton River, our main street here in Macomb County, bringing about probably our first ever, if you would, campsites, maybe in the northern part of Macomb County, and even on the coast of Lake St. Clair. There's so many opportunities and things we hear about and we know and we have ideas and plans for. But again, it takes money to make these things happen, and we need to have those conversations. So excited about the fact that we have this going on this weekend.
Absolutely.
To bring people closer together and understand the resources they have in their own backyard. So Meet Me on the Trail is a great opportunity for people to kind of see and get out in their own communities. But go to macombgov.org for that information. Another event that's taking place this weekend, one that's near and dear to my heart and my background, is with Turning Point. Turning Point, a domestic violence organization, does a great job here in Macomb County of providing information to people that are impacted by this, but also working aside law enforcement to deal with this problem. And again, a great resource, but one that was highlighted probably more so than ever during the Tara Grant case. And they have this walk, and it's an opportunity to showcase Turning Point. And we're fortunate because the family of Tara Grant will be there. They always are. I'm excited to see them once again. I still stay in contact with them, but they have a walk out at Freedom Hill this Saturday as well. So if you haven't heard about that, it might be an opportunity to come out there and help provide a little bit of support for Turning Point, but also for the family. And again, the family's doing great. We're excited for them, and these kids are extremely resilient. So Lindsay and Ian are just doing fantastic, and I'm excited to see that. So we'll reunite with that. But that's another great thing to do this weekend. If people have some time, stop on out there, and I'll meet you out there as well.
Awesome. The other thing that we always want to highlight is now it's officially fall, Mark. It's time to fall in love with Macomb. Tremendous amount of agritourism destinations, showcase orchards and other experiences that you can have with your friends and families and loved ones, from picking pumpkins to loading up bushes of apples, or even get some of that hard cider that they've got up at Blake's, or even some of that wine that they make over at Westview. These are just incredible opportunities that give us some of that seasonal flair, which I'm going to say might be a little bit better here than other places around the region.
Yeah, I go for the cider slurpees. Blake's and even Yates. I know it's just on the border of Macomb County and Oakland County, but I'm an actual cider guy myself. I don't do the hard cider. I stay away from that. But with that being said, again, plenty of opportunities in Macomb County. Go to macombgov.org. Make Macomb your home is also .com is available for information about what's happening in and around your community. But again, as JP, myself, and the rest of us here in Macomb County always say, remember to keep you and your family safe.